Winter sickness was not a mystery to people living in the 1800s. Long before germ theory was fully understood, householders noticed a pattern. Tightly sealed rooms bred coughs, chest infections, lingering fevers, and what they called bad air. The response was not medicine, but architecture and daily habit. What kept winter coughs out of many 19th century homes was a strict, almost ritualized fresh air rule. Even in freezing weather, homes were never fully sealed. Controlled airflow was treated as essential as firewood. This practice was widespread, deliberate, and practical, and it worked often enough that it became embedded in building manuals, medical advice, and domestic routines. The rule was simple but enforced daily in real households. The rule was this: every living space must receive a regular exchange of outdoor air, even in winter, without allowing the room to lose its stored heat. Now, this wasn't just about throwing open every window. It was measured, directional airflow, aimed at getting rid of stale air while still keeping the place warm. Bedrooms got aired out every morning, and parlors were freshened up before folks gathered in the evening. Sick rooms, on the other hand, were ventilated a whole lot more aggressively than healthy rooms. The goal here wasn't just comfort, but prevention. Folks believed that stale air could weaken the lungs, thicken up phlegm, and even invite respiratory illness. Even though the reasoning back then wasn't perfect, the practice did help out. It cut down on humidity, kept mold from growing, diluted indoor smoke and germs, and kept people's respiratory systems from always being irritated. 19th century homes were not airtight by accident. Builders intentionally allowed controlled leakage. Windows were tall and narrow, often double-hung, allowing the bottom sash to rise slightly for fresh air intake, while the top sash dropped just enough to let warm, stale air escape. This created convection without drafts at floor level. Walls were built with materials that absorbed and released moisture rather than trapping it. Chimneys were central, not just for heat, but for airflow. Even when the fire was low, the chimney pulled air upward, continuously drawing fresh air into the house through small gaps. This constant movement prevented the air from stagnating. A fire was not merely a heat source, it was an engine. Wood-burning fireplaces and, later on, cast-iron stoves consumed indoor air and expelled it through the chimney. That loss had to be replaced, and it was replaced by fresh outdoor air entering through windows, doors, and floorboards. Families understood this intuitively. Closing a house too tightly caused fires to smoke and people to cough. Manuals from the period warned that a fire in a sealed room poisoned the occupants. Sleeping rooms were never sealed shut for the night. It was common advice to sleep with a window cracked, even during snowstorms, provided the bed was shielded from direct drafts. Winter coughs thrive in damp environments. 19th century households were acutely aware of dampness because it damaged furniture, spoiled stored goods, and made rooms smell foul. Fresh air was the primary defense. So, modern houses are far more airtight, which means stale air accumulates a whole lot faster. But applying the old rule doesn't mean you have to freeze your living space. It just means, controlled ventilation. Cracking a window slightly at the top for about 10 to 15 minutes in the morning and evening, that kind of mimics the double-hung window effect. And allowing fresh air into bedrooms while keeping beds shielded, that really helps reduce overnight humidity. For preppers and survivalists out there, the fresh air rule is a low-tech health defense. In power outages, fuel shortages, or grid failures, indoor air quality can, honestly, degrade pretty rapidly. If you found this breakdown useful and want more deeply researched insights like this, go ahead and subscribe to Warfield Prepper Chronicles. And hey, share this with fellow history buffs and preparedness-minded friends who care about practical knowledge that still works. This channel exists to preserve what history already proved, so it doesn't have to be relearned the hard way.